I'm going to show you how I built this small 3-drawer dresser. The first step is cutting all the pieces to length using a miter saw. A router with a rabbiting bit is used to cut the grooves for the drawer bottoms. The grooves are cut to a depth of 1/2 inch to accommodate the thickness of the drawer bottom. The pieces that are needed are all made from 1x8 board. There are 7 36-inch long pieces. There are 3 33.5-inch long pieces. 4 22 1/4-inch long pieces. And 4 12-inch long pieces with 1/2-inch grooves cut with the router. I measure and mark for the many pocket holes that will hold the dresser together. To make the pocket holes, I use my Craig pocket hole jig. I start by setting it to the thickness of the wood, which is 3/4 of an inch, and then I set a stop collar on the drill bit for 3/4 inch wood using the gauge provided in the case. The jig is aligned with a mark I made and then clamped in place. Then I drill the pocket holes. For some of the pocket holes, I use my single hole Craig pocket hole jig, which in this case, I just align it with the edge of the board, because this is 3/4 inch thick wood, and clamp it in place with the clamp, and then drill my pocket hole. The sides and the top and the bottom of the dresser are assembled using 1 1/4 inch pocket hole screws. Clamps are used to hold the boards together during assembly. The pocket hole layout used for the top and bottom and both sides is roughly the same. Double pocket holes on each end, and then in the center 2 pocket holes going in opposite directions. The reason the ones in the center go in opposite directions is so that I have the same number of screws going in each direction. These pocket holes here will be used to attach the sides to the top and bottom. The seams between the boards are sanded smooth with a belt sander with a 120 grit sanding belt. The drawer boxes are also assembled using 1 1/4 inch pocket hole screws. Angle clamps are used to hold the boards in position while the screws are tightened. Assembly of the main cabinet box part of the dresser is similar to the assembly of the drawer boxes. I use the angle clamps to hold the boards in place and then screw them together using 1 1/4 inch pocket hole screws. On the drawer fronts, I've measured in and marked 2 inches from each end. This tells me where the inside of the drawer box is, and allows enough room to accommodate the side of the drawer box, the drawer slides, and the edge of the dresser cabinet. In the middle of each drawer front, I've also pre-drilled the holes for mounting the handles. The holes are 3/16 of an inch in diameter. The drawer front is aligned and then clamped to the drawer box with angle clamps. It will then be attached using 6 1/4" pocket hole screws. The drawer bottoms are cut from 1/2" plywood. The plywood drawer bottoms measure 12 inches by 32 5/8 inches. I drill pocket holes in the plywood drawer bottoms for attaching them. It's important to make sure that both the jig and the drill bit are set up for 1/2" wood. To install the drawer bottoms, I first put a small amount of glue in the grooves that I cut with the router. The drawer bottoms are anchored in place using 1" pocket hole screws, 12 screws per bottom. The pocket holes on the inside of the drawers are filled with glue and pocket hole plugs. I use my detail sander to sand down the pocket hole plugs. I cut a back for the dresser from 1/4" plywood. Decorative trim pieces are attached to the front of the dresser using a nail gun and 5/8" brad nails. The seams are sanded smooth with a belt sander. To attach the feet to the bottom of the dresser cabinet box, I start by attaching the plates that they will screw into. First, I mark for the pilot holes. The pilot holes are carefully drilled using a 1/8" drill bit. In this case, I wrapped some black tape around the bit so that I won't drill too deep. The metal plates are attached using the screws provided with them. Once the metal plates are installed, the bun feet are screwed into place. Once the drawers are finished, in this case using a blue stain and varnish, the drawer handles are attached using the screws provided with them. For the installation of the drawer box portion of the drawer slides, I measure up 1 1/2 inches from the bottom of the drawer box and I make a line. This will tell me where the top part of the drawer box portion of the drawer slide goes. Now in the instructions it says to put it up 1.25 inches, but the reason I'm putting it up 1.5 inches instead is to make sure that no part of this drawer slide hangs below the bottom of the drawer box, because if it did, it could get caught on the drawer below. I carefully align the drawer box portion of the drawer slide with the line I made, and then I mark for my pilot holes. The pilot holes for the drawer slides are drilled using a 5/64 inch drill bit, which is short enough as to not go all the way through the wood. The drawer box portions of the drawer slides are then attached to the drawer boxes using the screws provided with them. To install the cabinet box portions of the drawer slides, I first make a mark on the side of the cabinet box to tell me where the slide needs to go, and then I align the slide with that mark, use the level to make sure it's level, and clamp it in place with the clamp. I then mark for where my pilot holes need to go, which I will be drilling with the 5/64 inch drill bit. After drilling the pilot holes, the cabinet box portion of the drawer slide is anchored in place with the screws provided. I always double check with the level before tightening the screws up all the way. Thin pieces of plywood are used to create the proper gap spacing between the drawers. The last step in the assembly of the dresser is to attach the 1/4 inch thick plywood back. Clamps are used to temporarily hold it in place while it is attached with 5/8 inch brad nails and a nail gun. This is the completed dresser. It measures 36 inches wide by 15.5 inches deep by 28 inches tall. It took me approximately 22 hours to build it, and the material cost involved in construction was a tad over $300.